What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Silent Hills yet again. So I believe like a week or so ago, when Hideo Kojima, or his staff, I should say, was teasing basically what's to come, some big announcements to come. And there were some smaller things, but I don't think anything to the magnitude that we were all expecting. I had talked about the possibility of Silent Hills, right? Now, fast forward, we fast forward about a week or so, and now it seems like this is almost assured. Now, these are still leaks, these are still rumors, these are all unconfirmed. You have to take all this with a grain of salt. I always like to start off these videos by saying it, but it seems like there's a ton of stuff happening in the Silent Hill and Hills world. It's very weird. I believe I normally just by instinct call it Silent Hills. I don't mean to. I just kind of add that S to it. It's just something my brain attaches to it. I understand it's Silent Hill, not Silent Hills, but it's just something I do. But in regards to this rumor, actually it's both. Actually, I am correct when I call it both of these things, because rumor has it the original makers of even the very first Silent Hill game, they're coming back to make a brand new game. Okay, now that would be like a soft reboot, kind of kicking off the franchise yet again, but that's different. That is not the same one as what Hideo Kojima could very well be making. There seems to be rumors out there that Sony is trying to mend kind of the broken relationship that Kojima has with Konami, and we talked about that. Remember, I actually said that when I had that video talking about, is he teasing a Silent Hill? I said, well, what's important to remember is the kind of what happened, right? The fallout of what happened with Kojima and Konami in general, and that if they were to do it, if Kojima were to make a game, they'd have to work it out. And I find that kind of unlikely, but at the same time, literally anything's possible. And if you really want to make the franchise, and you're able to make money, you're able to work out a deal that benefits both sides, you're gonna try to do it, even though there's been so much turmoil. You're going to try. And it seems to be. Now, the rumors suggest that Sony is the one pushing Kojima to do this. And people have thrown out that could it be like a PS5 exclusive. I don't know. Honestly, because if they work with Konami, they'd have to work out some sort of deal where if they wanted to keep Kojima like a first-party studio, you'd have to work out a deal with Konami where you can take the license of Silent Hill, use it to make Silent Hills, which is what Hideo Kojima's game. Rumor has it his is Silent Hills, which is the Norman Reedus after PT game. And there's also a Silent Hill reboot that's also happening simultaneously. Probably pretty confusing. You probably don't want to have the difference between two games, the only difference being S at the end of the word hill. That's very confusing. Even like a movie like Suicide Squad, and then now having the Suicide Squad, I really hope they change that, because having the word the, I don't really think is enough to differentiate the two. And with this, it's even worse, because what's the difference between Silent Hill and Silent Hills? Again, even with me, I normally just call it Silent Hills by accident. So that should be a pretty good indication of what's going on. And I mean, that's more of like just a personal note, but I'll tell you this, it's very exciting. I'm not a big fan of Silent Hill. I've never really jumped into those games at all. I like horror games. In fact, I love horror games. I'm just afraid to play them. But I have played as many as I could get my hands on while also taking it very, very slowly. I complete them at a snail's pace because I'm too afraid to go around corners. I'm too afraid to explore areas. But I've played a good amount, I would say a good amount of horror games over the last 2-3 years. I've recently, more like with the PS4 generation, I've tried to jump in to more horror games, although I did play Amnesia back in the day as well. But it is exciting. But like I said, the problem with the Konami thing is if they wanted to keep Kojima first party, you'd have to work out a deal where you can get the name, the property, the IP, Silent Hill, allow Kojima to make a Silent Hills game with, again with Norman Reedus, but then have it be a first-party have it be an exclusive. So, and technically, Kojima Productions is not a first-party studio. They had a contract with them that Death Stranding would be, for the first almost a year, only on PS4. They had that deal. There's been a lot of rumors that Sony is trying to buy Kojima Productions, and that's all well and good. And I actually do hope that ends up working. I don't know if Kojima would do that, but this is kind of like a step in. Okay, is that kind of part just kind of like PR fan service, where it's like, hey, Sony is kind of rooting for Silent Hills to come back, but then it's like, well, how does Sony really benefit? Because they're actually going to lose Hideo Kojima to do a third-party game, right? Now, he wouldn't be contracted to Konami, and I actually said that again last week as well, that I don't think he would sign any sort of, like, unusual or crazy contract like he had before, where basically they would control what he's doing. I don't think he wants that, and it's just personal speculation. I don't think he wants that anymore, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant to say would he sign on to just be a Sony first party studio. I don't know, because then you don't. Sony's known for letting you have freedom, but still you are losing some sort of freedom by giving your rights to one company. I mean, that's just basically that just is what happens. Even though Sony does give you freedom, it is still affected. So it's difficult to say, and I believe it. I'll tell you this. I believe both. I believe that with all the stuff we've seen Hideo Kojima say himself, he's going down a horror path, okay? He's going to make a horror game, whether it be Silent Hills or whether he maybe takes that, central idea or what he was trying to do with PT and just say, hey, let's just make PT. Let's bring that idea back. Let's work with Guillermo del Toro. Let's work with him, and let's just make it happen. And it's very possible that it actually could. If they can't get a deal with Konami, they can still make a horror game, whatever horror game they want, actually. They'd actually probably have more freedom. And then you could start to suggest, would it be a Sony first-party game? So I believe the rumors to an extent. I think they line up with the talk of the town, basically, that's around Kojima, that's around him wanting to do a horror game, that Silent Hill is possible, but then again, they're making it's. I mean, again, actually, I was reading, it was a separate leaker or separate insider that said that they are also working on just a reboot of the game, and then another one said Hideo Kojima could be working on a Silent Hill. So it's actually two different people. I think they actually got backed up by another group of people. So there's different groups of people here reporting this. So I wouldn't flat out say no. I just think that some of the parts could be fabricated. Some of the parts could be a little, again, like more fancy. Because again, if you work out a deal with Konami, how do you get it to be a Sony exclusive? And if it's not, then why would Sony be pushing for it? It doesn't really make sense unless it's just a good fan move, like a PR move. But then, I don't know, is that really necessary to report on? And maybe it is. Maybe it's not, though. We just, at the end of the day, we don't know. Are they trying to work out a deal where they can get it and then Sony can just put it? Does Sony have a deal with Konami where they say, okay, we're going to work with you, and also we're going to work with Kojima. You need to sign him on, let him do, and that could be it. That's probably the only way it would work, is if you have Konami say, okay, we're going to, make a deal with Sony where we're going to put this specific game, just this, not all Konami games, just the Hideo Kojima one. It's only going to be on PlayStation, or it's going to be a PlayStation timed exclusive, but we also have to, at the same time, work out a deal with him to allow him to use the property, because we're not just going to give it to you to take it from us. We're not going to sell it. We're not going to do that. So there's a lot at play here, but it's exciting. I mean, I've made a lot of depressing videos, I feel like, over the last couple of days. It feels good to talk about something that's more uplifting, because gaming news is still going on. Things are still happening. And while these are all just rumors, these are all not confirmed, and who knows if we even get to the point where these guys can make these games, it certainly seems like it's in motion. It seems like a Silent Hill game is already in development, and it seems like Kojima could very well be working on a game right now. And I mean, that's, I think, honestly obvious, because even when Death Stranding was getting ready to release, I would imagine that they had a small team, or even Kojima himself probably had some ideas of what he was going to do next. It's been 4 or 5 months, right? And probably, again, a few months before then. So whatever this is, he's probably had the idea of doing it for a good half year at the least. So I do think there are things being worked on behind the scenes. We just have to see it all play out. Would be very, very weird to have two games of the same franchise, one being a reboot, one being like a spiritual kind of, not like a spiritual successor. I don't think that's even what you would call it, but something spiritual, right? Because you'd be taking some of the elements, but you're trying to do your own thing. Hence why it was even called PT in the first place. So it's just very, very interesting. I'm very excited to see what comes out. And honestly, again, I don't know if the, Death Stranding being confirmed, like the release date for PC, or the soundtrack, how the soundtrack is going to release in 2020. I don't know if that stuff was the big stuff that they were talking about, that they were going to announce shortly. I don't think that's even close to being considered. I mean, the soundtrack of Death Stranding was absolutely amazing, but I don't think it's like this is the next big thing we're working on. I don't think that counts. So I do feel like there's more in the pipeline. I feel like maybe over the next couple months, if there even would be like a PS5 reveal event, if that's even still possible now, or even if it's just like an online thing, I feel like that would be a candidate to maybe just drop a mention, or even like a press release and say, hey, here's what Kojima is working on his next thing. And if it is connected to Sony, then Sony can kind of drop that and say, and we have a partnership with him where it's going to be, again, like same kind of deal like Death Stranding was. And I feel like that would definitely help them out too when it comes to next gen. The more news, more things you can give people that kind of promote that people are working on games, that things are happening, the better. And this is definitely one of those things that can really, really help. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think a Silent Hill game is being made, whether it be already a reboot of it or whether it be the Hideo Kojima game that could very well be in the works? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you so much for watching. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.